Hey guys, and welcome to a Heroes of Esperia guide. In this guide, I'll be showing you guys my teams as I've finally reached the 5-team stage, and then I'll also be showing you a general guide so you can build teams based on what heroes you have available to yourself. The reason I uploaded this guide now and not at the beginning of the event is because I wanted to wait until I hit the 5-team stage, because that way I would be able to show you guys the teams that I plan on using all the way to the top. And then at the top, obviously, you will need 7 teams. However, I don't anticipate many of the people watching this guide to be going for legend ranks and Heroes of the Esperia. We just want the maximum rewards. So I can see that this doesn't actually show the pets, so I'll go into the team battle manager to show the pets as well. Now the first team here is the best team in the game, the Rem Emilia team. Not Emilia, actually, just Rem Olna. And one thing that makes this team the best is if you're able to use Awakened Sophia here, but my Awakened Sophia is not built, so I'm just going to use Palmer instead. But you can use any support. Also, if you don't have Damia, you can try stuff like Desira or other support heroes, Silas. However, the core is actually just Olna Rem with 3 supports, or if you have Damia built, you can use Damia and Isis, which is a very strong combination. Kind of a broken PvP combination, honestly, how these two interact together with their ultimates. Now, the next team here is the Seal team. Now, what characterizes the Seal team is obviously just using a lot of stall, meaning you use Thorin, you use Flora, you use Teline. Ideally, you could use the new Hypergen hero, right, if you had that available to you, or alternatively, if you're really, if you want to make the strongest team ever, Seal team ever, using Ivan in here is super broken because he has a lot of stun, energy drain, and stuff like that, and he stalls out the team very well. And obviously, if you had Matriarch, you could also slot in here, but for a free-to-play option, Kelther just does fine, right? He's also used in the campaign stages with Thorin. So this is kind of a budget Seal team. And obviously your Seal would need to be decently high level. Next team I have here is my Dimensional team. I'm throwing Awakened Solace in here, but honestly you can just throw, you could either throw Yennefer in here, or you could throw in Joan of Arc, right? It doesn't really matter, but I just felt bad that I wasn't using Solace anywhere else. But this team is basically just Mulan and Emilia killing everything killing everything very fast, and then obviously the dimensional supports in the front line with Albedo giving strength to the team. Now here is the Belinda team. This is kind of the new and improved Belinda team because Ivan is really strong with Belinda. Things you can use in Belinda team include such heroes as Palmer as well, or you can use Helios in here as well, right? If you're missing any of these heroes, you can just slot any of those in here. Now, usually Belinda really wants this Rock Lizard pet for survivability. However, the Rock Lizard pet is completely broken in this team, so just to make sure this team always wins, I use it in here, and then I hope one of the other 5 teams wins. And then lastly here, this is the Rush team, right, with Laika and Sorath. Well, Sorath and Laika. And this team is basically built around having, Awakened Thane and Awakened Thalia. But obviously, if you don't have those, you can use these 2 Wilder heroes to make a decent team. But the best in slot team would use both Awakened Thane and Awakened Thalia in here. So these are my teams, right? One thing you should keep note of is this thing, which is that your heroes start out weak, and then they recover stats every second, and if you have a shield, you recover it even faster, which is why you want to focus around, in theory, you want to focus around shielding heroes, right? And that's why probably Helios would be better in here than other heroes. But honestly, like, tryharding in this event is not really rewarded, because most of the times you will reach the top ranks towards the end of the event, because most of the strong people are out and in here, and then you just fight, all the weak accounts are left, and you can always just, if you run out of attempts, you can always just buy more attempts for pretty cheap, right? Just 10. This does raise in price, but it is fairly cheap for some extra attacks if you're missing out towards the end of it. But those were the teams that I'm planning on just using all the way up. hopefully those work. But if they do not work, and or if you don't have the same heroes I have a guide for you, which is a great guide, and I'll see if I can pull it up without 2 seconds. All right, sorry about that, I had to sneeze. This one, Heroes of Esperia Volume 3 guide. This guide is by C, as you can see here on Discord, and he has some different some different IDs over here you can go follow him on. And this is a great guide, because this guide, I'll also link it in the description obviously. This guide contains pretty much all the different variations of PvP teams, and that way you can pick and choose based on what heroes you have. So as you can see here, Remus Awakened Sophia, which is the best comp of the game. Interestingly enough, he's using the seal or the fire breather pet in here. I use the rock lizard pet, but as you can see here, he wants to use it in the Awakened Belinda pet, the Awakened Belinda formation, which I completely understand. However, I like to use it in here. I always have. Also because it grants shielding, which is good with this round, so that just makes this team stronger. But yeah, obviously this team would probably win with pretty much any pet. Then we have the burst comp. This is the comp that I'm using, right, where I don't have Awakened Thane and I don't have Awakened Athalia, so I'm using Iorin and Tamrus. And as you can see here, here's some different variations, right? Especially the common question for this comp is, what if I don't have Vithil? And as you can see here, Mishkan can work, or Helios can work, right? So there are some different Vithil replacements in the burst comp. Matriarch comps, not much to talk about here. If you have Hypergen heroes out the wazoo, right? If you have all the Hypergen heroes built, you can go for this comp, but obviously it's super not free-to-play friendly, right? So I'm just gonna skip here. Here's the Soulless comps, right? Funny thing enough is that Soulless comp usually just runs Baden as well, but that's because they run Nivanthi, right? So Nivanthi wants to be run with all the summoner heroes here. So if you have Awakened Soulless and you want to build a comp around her, you can do that. Then we have the Seal comp, right? This was what I was talking about here. And as you can see, they're using Awakened Baden in here because, you know, I think he has 7 cheat deaths, right? Which is obviously really good. And also they agree with the fact that Ivan is super strong in the seal comps because he stalls so well. And there's a lot of replacements here. They say that the seal team requires level 15 seal, but yeah, you can try lower seal levels because this comp is so free to play friendly. So if you guys have a smaller account, this is actually just, you know, a cheap composition that you can build, and even if it doesn't work all of the time, it's better than not having a composition. And as you can see here, replacements, there's a lot of replacements, and you can just slot them in here. For example, I use Kanisa and Rook, and I use Kelthar. You can use these stall heroes, right? The new Hypergen, also a good stall hero. But yeah, lots of replacements available here. Then we go up and we see the Twins comp, and I was when I read this initially, I was like, wait, Twins isn't a PvP hero? And no, they aren't. They're referring to the new Celestial Hypergen Twins heroes. So if you have those built, they slot into the dimensional comp without Rem, right? Using Ulna and Merlin. But for most people, we probably don't have that built. And also, if you plan on using Mulan, you need her 9 furniture, or she's pretty much worthless in a PvP. Her 9 furniture is super strong. And as you can see here, you can use John, you can use Merlin and Mulan, and yeah, basically what I do is just use Soulless in here because I don't build the Soulless comp. But yeah, you can pick and choose. As long as you have Emilia and Albedo and Mulan, you're probably good to go for this comp. Here's the Belinda comp, right? And now there's a few variations of the Belinda comp, right? You can also use Helios if you don't have Palmer, but why would you have Helios if you don't have Palmer? That's an interesting thing. Maybe you need Palmer elsewhere. But yeah, Belinda comp, pretty self-explanatory. For me, I use Palmer up here, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, you can play around with the support heroes. These are both very strong comps, right, obviously. Then you have the Thane comp. Thane is an interesting hero because he makes his own comp with all the Lightbearer, kind of C-tier Lightbearer heroes. They slot into Thane's comp. And obviously Thane is a monster in PvP, so if you have Thane built, you can make his comp, and also that doesn't pull heroes from any other compositions. Lastly, this is the Rem Emilia comp. Now I highly advise that you use Rem with Ulna up here. and you don't use Rem with Emilia. Interestingly enough, as you can see here, Rem could, or Emilia could be a replacement for Awakened Sophia, but I would much rather you guys make 2-dimensional comps and then throw Rem into another team. That way you have 2 comps instead of 1 stronger comp. And then also we have this, basically, this is just other variations, right? We have some of the old PvP comps. If you look at this, some of you guys might recognize some of these comps, right? We have the old Irons comp. We have the old Ulna Gris with Graveborn backline composition, right? We have the Ulna Baden comps. Irons, as I spoke to here. Here's the Brutus comp, right? Dimensional Brutus. Here's a Lucretia comp. Here's a Scarlet composition. Here's an interesting Belinda composition that I actually haven't seen before. Using this guy, I can't even remember his name. Eluard, is that it? That seems wrong, but yeah. And then obviously up here you have a Rem Ulna comp without Emilia, but using dimensional heroes. So maybe if you only have Rem for whatever reason, you could do that comp. But yeah, pretty much this guide is super good, right? You go through here and you make the teams that you can. Maybe you can only make 2 or 3 teams, but honestly, 2 or 3 teams is pretty good, and then just slot in some filler, because you only need to win, right? You only need to win 3 of the 5 battles to advance to the next stage, right? So if you only have 3 teams, when you attack, you can make sure you pit your best teams against the enemy's worst teams, and that way you can actually climb with just 3 solid teams, right? So that's what I always say in this event, is make solid teams at a time, right? Focus on getting some teams that can win some matches instead of making an overall solid roster, because it's at the end of the day you just need to win 3 individual battles, and that way you advance. But actually I think that's about it for this event. Again, it's a great event, right? It's one of the best events for resources, right? The rewards are completely crazy. The amount of summons you get in here, right? As well as stones and stuff. Very, 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 very good event. One thing that this event I think is missing, because it's made before Awakened Heroes, is I would love to see some sort of Time Gazer rewards in this event. And also, as for baits, right, you do get baits, but it's only at the very top ranks, right? And I think maybe you should be getting some baits early as well. But yeah, I can't really complain when you get when you get 60 summons at the end of the event, right? 60 pulls. And a lot of stargazers and some gear, right? And not to sleep on this thing, which also contains a ton of loot, right? In here, a ton of free loot, and then obviously whenever you rank up, you get these chests. Where are they? Here, which contains great loot for every single account, right? So yeah. This event is awesome for loot, and it's very low maintenance. You set your teams, you do your daily attacks, and most people with their accounts would climb to the top ranks. And then if you can't climb to the top ranks with just the free attacks every day, you have to put a little bit more effort into here, but it's still not impossible. And obviously, if you're just starting out in the game, the top rank might be, or is probably unachievable, right? But then you'll just see how far you can push, even if you don't reach the top ranking. There are some, well, now I can't go back, but there are still, you know, good amounts of resources, even if you don't rank the highest. But that's about it for the Heroes of the Esperia video. I hope you guys can reach the top rank as soon as possible, and enjoy those sweet rewards. I'm sure I will anyways. So, see ya.